If you've ever thought your partner should just know what you're thinking and then felt, well, pretty disappointed, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at the material, and honestly, the takeaway was stunningly simple. Forget the usual cliches about trust being the absolute foundation of love.
Right.
We found communication. It kind of runs the whole show. It's what seems to literally make or break the partnership.
And what's really crucial here, I think, is getting the definition clear. Communication isn't just, talking at each other or sharing your diary. It's about mutual understanding, truly getting where the other person is coming from.
Okay.
We found this great analogy in the sources. Think of communication like oxygen for the relationship.
Oxygen. Okay. Like that?
Yeah. Without that constant, steady supply, love it suffocates. It can't breathe.
That's vivid. And wow, the data backs it up pretty hard, doesn't it? The research showed something like 65% of breakups.
That's the number. Yeah. 65%.
They happen mainly because of poor communication, not because the love wasn't there or even because trust was the first thing to go.
Yeah.
It's the communication breakdown.
That number is huge, and it really points to a common blind spot, I think. Couples often blame other things, like, oh, we're just incompatible or we fell out of love.
Right.
But the sources suggest the fundamental structure, the communication probably failed long before that feeling faded.
Okay, so let's dive into how that failure actually works. What happens when the oxygen, starts running out?
Yeah.
We saw 3 critical failures pop up again and again. The first, misunderstandings just multiply. They spiral. Think about it. A small thing, like you didn't reply to my text right away.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
It suddenly blows up into this massive fight. Why? Because partners stop asking why and they just start assuming the worst. Neglect, malice, indifference.
Exactly. And when an assumption steps in where asking should be, that leads straight to the second failure, emotional disconnection.
Right. The feeling miles apart thing.
Precisely. You could be living together, sharing a bed, paying bills, but you feel completely alone, like your partner just doesn't see you or hear you or value what's important to you day to day.
But hold on, how did the sources distinguish that from just, needing healthy space sometimes? Isn't some separation okay?
That's a great question. The key difference is the overall emotional climate. Healthy space is usually temporary. It feels restorative. Disconnection, though, feels chronic. It's cold.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you're consistently avoiding the deep stuff or when silence just takes over where honesty should be. And that's when trust, the third failure, really starts to erode.
Gotcha. Because without those open conversations,
The doubts and insecurities just fester, right? There's no transparency. And when transparency goes, trust inevitably follows it out the door.
wow. Okay, that paints a pretty bleak picture if things go wrong.
It can be, yeah.
But let's flip this. What do the sources say about reversing it? About the power of healthy communication?
Well, the good news is that healthy communication directly counters all those failures. First off, it massively builds intimacy
How so?
by creating safety, sharing your real fears, your dreams, even the messy insecurities. That's what makes love deep and resilient. Much more than just, surface level agreement.
And it stops those pointless fights too, right? The example they used was great. Instead of throwing out an accusation like, you never care about me.
We'll just put someone on the defensive immediately.
Right. You shift to expressing how you feel. Like, I feel hurt when you don't call me back.
That shift is everything psychologically. You own your feeling, you state a specific behavior, and it bypasses their defensiveness. It keeps the conversation open.
Makes sense.
And ultimately, this whole approach, it turns the couple into teammates. It stops being me versus you in a conflict. Us versus the problem. You're tackling the issue together.
Okay, so for listeners wanting those actionable takeaways, what did the successful couples do? The first key seemed to be really listening.
Active listening, yeah, and not just waiting for your turn to jump in.
The research actually noted most people interrupt or start planning their reply within like the first 15 seconds.
It's true. The goal is to understand, not just reply. Think like 80% listening, 20% talking, maybe even more listening.
And the other big one was expressing feelings, not accusations. We touched on that. I feel lonely works way better than you're never there.
Absolutely. And consistency is huge too. Don't just communicate when there's a fire to put out. Talk daily. Check in. And importantly, be honest but gentle. Truth delivered kindly builds things up. Harsh truth just tears them down.
I liked how the successful couples often paired the feeling with a specific need. It wasn't just, I feel lonely.
Right, needs context.
It was more like, I feel lonely when you work late 3 nights in a row, and I really need us to connect for maybe 15 minutes before we switch into chores or TV.
Exactly. That's the difference between just venting emotion and actually communicating a need for connection. It gives your partner something concrete to respond to.
So how do you know if you're getting it right? What are the signs?
Well, the big signs of good communication are pretty clear. Do you feel safe sharing basically anything without fearing judgment or ridicule? That's number one.
Okay, safety first.
Yeah. And do your disagreements, your conflicts, generally end with some kind of solution or understanding? Or do they just end with slamming doors or resentful silence?
Solutions, not just ceasefires.
Exactly. And do you feel genuinely heard most of the time? Not ignored, not dismissed. That feeling of being heard is vital.
Makes total sense. It all comes back to that feeling of connection.
It really does. Because look, love doesn't just vanish overnight. It usually fades slowly. It fades when the words stop flowing, when silence and assumption replace honesty and curiosity.
Yeah.
So if you want your relationship to truly last, to thrive, you have to make communication a daily practice, a habit.
Like brushing your teeth.
Kind of, yeah. Because at the end of the day, the sources strongly suggest communication isn't just part of love. In a very real way, it is love in action.